19,000 Americans were victims of so-called romance scams last year, totaling over $700 million in lost money. KTIV's Matt Hoffman spoke with an FBI special agent today about those scams. So Matt, is there any way to get that money back after it leaves your account?
Yeah, Matt, if you act fast enough, there just might be. The special agent tells me there's a relatively new Internet Crime Complaint Center that can help if the money was transferred within 4 or 5 days of reporting the scam. And these aren't the traditional scams you might think of. The agent I spoke with says this is really organized crime, which the FBI sometimes fights with a scam of its own. A romance scam goes something like this. A crime ring finds a victim, generally a person who's more than 50 years old, especially someone who's lost a loved one. They deeply research that person on social media, finding a way to relate. Then they move in, faking a romantic relationship, and eventually asking for money.
There's a whole nother, 5, 6, 7 people, and one of them is responsible for getting the targets. So going out there on social media, going out there, newspapers, obituaries, pulling all that information in.
Schmutz told the story of a Nebraska woman who was scammed out of more than $200,000. The FBI was monitoring the scammer's account and warned her of the ruse, but she believed the love was real and sent the scammer more money.
So we went out and, sat down with her and laid out the whole crime for her. And even with doing that, the next week she sent the person another $5,000. And so that trust is really strong.
If you believe someone has been scammed through a wire transfer, the FBI says there may be a kill chain to stop the transaction. By making a complaint on ic3.gov, law enforcement may be able to stop the transfer and return the funds even if the transaction occurred overseas. Now, back in 2021, over 12,000 people from Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota were victims of cybercrime. But there are some ways to protect yourself. The FBI says the most likely victim is a man over 50, especially if he's lost a loved one or spouse. Beware of anyone who won't meet in person or over a video call, or someone who asks for money earlier in a romantic relationship than usual. Finally, remember that ic3.gov website may be able to help. Founded in 2018, the Recovery Asset Team partners with banks to flag and even reverse some fraudulent transactions.
So Matt, the question now, how do the scammers get money out of the country? Don't those banks flag international transactions to countries that are prominent?
Yeah, the banks do often stop those transactions, but the suspects will sometimes scam other people like business owners, take control of their accounts, and then use them to commit the romance scams. Basically, the transactions then look like they're coming from 2 different U.S. bank accounts.
Last question, Matt. How do the authorities catch these suspects?
Yeah, actually, the FBI says they'll sometimes use a ruse of their own by inviting them to visit the United States. When the State Department would normally deny a visit visa, the FBI will ask for it to be granted and then arrest them when they arrive on U.S. soil.
Matt Hoffman for us tonight in studio. Matt, thank you.